Yo, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Damontae bringing you a banger. Don't forget to follow on my Twitch, please. This is where we have daily content. Well, hello, this is the Dev Diary episode 8 of Payday 3. This one is the narrative and sounds. Narrative meaning like
There
lore.
are
Oh, that's loud.
some ties to old villains.
Why is it? Wait, what the fuck? Why is the sound like that?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of background noise. That's weird.
About 5 years has passed since the events of Payday 2, where the gang robbed the White House, and after that the gang went into retirement, living off the enormous amounts of money that they've made over their heisting careers.
So he's just kind of going over the
some
lore.
of the people that they've wronged in the past figure out that the gang is very much alive still, and that they stole pardons. So in this universe, that sort of heist works, and therefore the cops aren't doing anything, and some of these people learn about this and they're not happy about that at all.
So they just described that there's going to be people from the last game and or other groups like the Kataru or whatever you want to call them that will be present in this game.
So they conspired to have the Payday gang killed, hire assassins, and as a precaution they also make sure to freeze all their assets, just in case the assassination attempts fail. The reasoning being that in that case, at least the heisters won't have any resources, they won't have any money to be able to retaliate on the...
Wasn't this already covered in Payday 2? Like Locke being like, oh, well, we're going to have to hit this for more assets because they froze mine or whatever. Like, they've already covered this in Payday 2, I'm pretty sure, on some of the most recent DLCs.
Assassination attempt. But of course, we do know that at least a few. We don't know if any of the actual assassination attempts actually succeed, but Dallas, Hoxton, Wolf, and Chains survive along with Joy, and they are contacted by an old associate of Bane, a woman called Shade, who manages to reach them just in time.
So there's where the whole new lady AI sounding contractor comes into play. She's related to Bane as a friend or something, an old friend, and now she's contacting the last known people alive to do a heist or something to help them
before the assassination attempts, and she gathers them all up in New York, promising them that she will do her best to try to get to the bottom of this conspiracy,
so now there's another
who's behind it, and get them some payback.
So hopefully it's not another Payday 2 storyline where it turns into just unrealistic things and the story becomes not fun. Let's hope that's not the case here.
But first, they need to get back to heisting, because since they don't have any money left, they need to raise money somehow.
So everything they just described is that the heisters went into hiding or whatever after Payday 2. Then old groups like Kataru and the other stuff are trying to assassinate them and find them. So therefore, the only few people still alive are like Dallas, Chains, Hoxton, and Wolf. And like Joy and Pearl, right? But as he just mentioned, Shade, the new like Bane lady, is trying to get you guys back on your feet with these bank heists and, you know, whatever the case, so that you guys can be ready to get your revenge on, in quotations, the Kataru, a big portion of Payday 2's story that got twisted in.
What makes the audio of Payday interesting is that we are trying to...
What is going on with the audio of this video? There's like so much background noise when they're speaking.
Keep it grounded, but still
Is he wearing lipstick?
going for the power fantasy and really get the player in charge of his or her own experience.
For the music of Payday 3, the real challenge was to to honor the legacy that we have. You know, some really good and loved music that the community really enjoy.
Okay.
Payday 2 and Payday
I'm
the
glad you
Heist.
mentioned that.
And bring something new in the mix.
Bro, I feel like the sound is like intentional at this
So
point.
that was
There's so
that
much
was really,
background
really
noise.
the challenge. Yeah, and I brought some of my influences as well. Some from electronic and music and bass music, and but also some rock and metal. And trying to mix it together with what we already had as a foundation.
Interesting.
From the other games. It's been a fun challenge, also very difficult. But yeah, I really like the point that the music is right now.
We talked about 50% Payday the Heist, 20% Payday 2, and 30% Gustavo.
Yeah, we had that formula going on since.
Wait, what was that formula? Hold on.
We talked about 50%
50% Payday the Heist, 20 Payday 2,
20%
and then
Payday
30.
2,
Gotcha.
and 30% Gustavo.
Yeah, we had that formula going on since the beginning. Yeah, that's true.
They're just kind of like adding a little joke there, you know.
Yeah, in Payday 3 we are going for a little bit more of a serious tone
Good.
in the game.
I'm glad they mentioned that because Payday 2, they took a really silly approach and route to make things more jokingly and whatever, and it was terrible. I didn't enjoy it. Being a player that's played the game 14,000 hours, that was the main thing that I disliked about the game, is that they had too many silly and jokingly oriented content.
It's still based very much about the Hollywood heist fantasy, you being a master criminal, but it still has the base sentiment of it being a game with a good vibe. It should be a good time, even though
I don't think those exploded in the beta.
heisters are killing a lot of cops, but it's done in a way to make it feel lighthearted. It's more of the situational type of humor where it can be really serious, but a thing that happens makes it funny.
See, what he's describing there is perfectly fine.
The way the music is set up in Payday 3 right now is that we have these different states that they correspond to what's happening in the game.
That was
So
in
we
Payday
have
2 as well.
5 different intensities of stealth.
That was
Then
same in Payday 2.
that moves into
Not in stealth, though.
into a control state, then anticipation and assault. It's kind of what we had in Payday 2 as
Yeah.
well. And
Already
then
what
the
they
music,
described.
it changes accordingly to what's going on in the heist. So when there's a police assault, everything is ramps up, and when they regroup, it slows down a bit, but you're still pumping the player, and you get into that loop. Usually I'm led by the heist that I'm working on, so I make each song for each heist.
I mean, I'd
And,
imagine that's how you
I
would do
let
things.
the setting and the objectives of the heist lead me, and usually I try to find the tempo first. So some heists I feel they need faster tempo, others
They have a
they work
Chimino in
better
the
with slower
game.
tempos.
That's nice to see.
And they go from there trying to find hooks. Sometimes it can be like a melody, sometimes a bass line, sometimes it's just a rhythm.
So this is similar to what they did in Payday 2, like Scarface Mansions, Break the Rules, or fucking any other song that you can think of, like Dirt and Dust for like fucking Border Crossing or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you could see this already being a thing in Payday 2. It's just now he's giving more of an explanation of it in Payday 3.
We put a lot of emphasis on building the world and get an immersive experience. So if you explore our heists, you will find interesting sounds from every corner of the heist.
Well, we did look around the bank heist, and
There's
nobody
actually,
moved their
a lot
mouths, and
of thought going into
some of the
what we're
conversations would
stealing,
just
how we're
randomly
going about
happen
stealing
back
it.
to back.
These heisters are meant to be the best of the best,
Yeah.
and the approach on how they go about these heists.
Is that Pearl at the
should,
bottom? Looks like a
in most
dude.
cases reflect what actual
That's
master
unfortunate.
criminals would do, and also about why you're stealing certain things, what's the purpose of them,
So there's at least some
how
lore
would this-
behind
could
items.
this be feasible in the real world
Okay.
or not?
So at least they
Should
took that into
feel
consideration.
like, yeah, that's plausible. I can buy that.
So they're wanting there to be some realism for a factor in the game. That's awesome.
Set up thermite in the hallway right above the vault.
I mean, you should always play with sound because you have features or you have game mechanics where audio is really aiding your experience, like hearing where the enemies are or where your teammates are, or if they.
They're just
shout
giving
for
you, like, a
help, or,
basic
like, it
info
adds,
here.
To your experience, because you can hear in 360 degrees, but you can only see in like 90.
The main story of Payday 3 is where you get
So there's gonna be
introductory
cutscenes?
cinematics that
Hold on. So there's going to be cutscenes. Oops, I don't know what I clicked. I don't know what I clicked. I must have grabbed my
There
mouse a
are-
little too aggressively.
360 degrees, but you can only see in like 90.
So let's go ahead and break this down again. So
The
in
main
this
story of
screen, there's going to be cutscenes for the story. There's going to be certain missions for the story. And then as you can see here, there's probably another mission followed by like cutscenes and things like that. So possibly following the route of like Crime Boss. If you guys know what that game is, it's like they kind of have like cutscenes and stories and missions and etc. So if they're following this route, you might have a more story-based game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something you should be wanting to enjoy. I love how I click play and doesn't play.
Payday 3
There we
is
go.
where you get introductory cinematics that explain
I didn't click anything.
the lead up to the heist that you're about to play, given the situation with the conspirators.
So
and,
yeah, just a
where the
basically
characters
crime
are
boss.
At that point in time. Then you play the heist, and then afterwards you get sort of another cinematic that explains the aftermath of that.
So crime
heist,
boss
basically.
style.
But there's also just a few
Is this the way that these little cutscenes are going to be though? Where there's not really animations or anything, it's just like a picture being panned across the screen? Like, is that how these cutscenes are going to be? Because it's not going to be the best cutscenes.
little nuggets of information strewn about.
But those are
in some
certainly
of the
cool still.
heists. Things that can reveal a little bit of character backstory and what their ideas about things really are, and also some foreshadowing what's to come.
So basically, yeah, foreshadowing
Since
could
5
easily be
years have
there.
passed since the events of the end of Payday 2. The heisters they have matured a bit. For instance, Joy, she was 23 at the end of Payday 2. So
Damn, she looks
is
bad in this
28
game.
now.
Like, good,
And, you
bad.
can tell from the way she
Hell yeah.
expresses herself. She doesn't count points as much anymore, like she used to do in Payday 2.
I can hear her a
So
little
she
bit.
is a little bit more mature in the way she expresses herself. And the
So they changed the character up, so she's not as annoying to some people.
Is one of the oldest heisters. And
What about
even though
what's
he
his name?
still loves the world of heisting, that's his home, that's where
Duke.
he wants to be. You can sort of tell that.
Oh, actually, go back just one sec.
His home,
You can see there's heist, join a heist, and match make, and then there's tutorial. That's interesting to see.
that's where he wants to be. You can sort of tell that there are parts of him that would have liked to stay in retirement.
Interesting.
So he's maybe a little less wordy than he used to be. He's a little bit more somber. While somebody like Wolf, for instance, he's been through hell during retirement. That's the worst part of his life ever. So he's just exuberantly happy that somebody has tried to kill them and steal all their money, so he gets to do
He's
it all
happy
again.
for that. That's hilarious.
For voice actors, we will see
Wolf.
Simon Kerr, Pete Gold, and Damien Portier
what they
return
say?
as Dallas, Hoxton, and Chains. Wolf will be returning as well, but with a new voice. For Wolf,
This has
we've
been
trying to find a
covered
voice
for,
that
like,
fits
Literally since the beta's been released and since they've confirmed Payday 3, we knew this, what he just stated. So there's nothing really to say about that.
into the ensemble that we have. but also keeping it interesting for Payday 3.
It's been a lot of fun developing some of these new characters. We have a new character, a new heister called Pearl,
Yep.
which has an amazing backstory that's been really fun to write. And obviously the
But did they really have to make her
she-
look like a
she also
dude,
has
though?
an amazing backstory. Something that I've really been very conscious about writing, for instance, dialogue for these characters is who they are. What sort of words would they use? Some of that comes from the actor portraying the character.
Right, that makes
We
sense.
only get to
Certain
scratch
actors have
the
certain
very
phrases, right?
surface of these characters' life stories and backgrounds for this game. But going into live service with DLCs, hopefully we can figure out a way to tell a little bit more about their stories, because
So they
there's a
want to
lot
do that in
to
DLCs,
it
unfortunately.
that isn't immediately apparent to the players.
Which is a good thing and a bad
I'm
thing.
really proud of
Goes both
our
ways.
small talk system. It's the system where it randomly picks conversations with NPCs, civilians in the world, creating a more immersive experience and like.
So there was a conversation that was going on when I was playing. The dude was screaming at his fellow coworker to make sure this dude doesn't show up at the office and this, that, and the other. And then literally as soon as that phone call ended, he gets onto another phone call and he's like, "Hey, I didn't get the job." It was like a completely polar opposite. He was the boss on the phone call, screaming and yelling at the guy, and then literally the next phone call, he was, "Hey, I didn't get the job." Was all sad and quiet. It was a complete polar opposite. So like, hopefully they touch on that to where a character doesn't do just a complete opposite conversation. That'd be awesome.
World that feels alive, and I think that.
So we can see that the mounts are moving in the dev diary here. So knowing that inside the beta that we played, the mounts never moved, now we can see the mounts are moving in the full game.
That is like such a
That's
big
better than
impact
not having them
and
move.
big difference from Payday 2, and also with the vehicles and the music from.
I mean, like, come on. She's supposed to be leaning, but she's like a good foot away from touching. Like, come on.
From the cars going by. And from an audio perspective, or from the audio department, we usually are the ones that drive the systems and how stuff is going to work. For example, the small talk, while the narrative team are the ones that putting the information in.
It was a lot of fun to
Interesting.
write some of the civilian dialogues. Things that only meant to be like in the background.
Yeah, some of the
This is
civilian
world
things were
that we're
hilarious.
living in, and having little bit of dialogue and things like that.
At least they have facial expressions as well.
Gives you a sense that this is an actual living, breathing world.
So in the beta, I'm glad they showed the screen. In the beta, when you were talking, not even talking, when there was a guy talking on the phone like this, if you were to look at his phone screen, it would literally change from like white, pink, blue, yellow, green. Like it would just change colors literally every few seconds. So hopefully that's not a present thing in the real game.
World. It's not everybody who can come into work and write curse words in 30 different ways. So that's always fun.
I really hope that you like the game and you will play it, and as Gustavo said, make friends and
Make
just
friends.
have a good old time.
Hell yeah, dude.
Keep those helmets flying.
Keep those helmets flying. I love how he said that.
I
Jesus.
honestly.
What
no
was
comment.
that?
Have a good old time.
Keep those helmets flying.
It's like, bro. God damn. Wait, what's that screen say
honestly-
behind her? Teach us Sprite or something. What sweet thoughts. I have never heard praise of love or something that panned forth. That must be like the art gallery or something.
I honestly.
No comment.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't know.
If you're playing a game with that audio, you are.
You are
fun.
beep.
If it's one thing that I want to promise our viewers or our players, is
Yeah?
that we will have
We will have clickbait at the end of the video. That's what they're gonna promise. Um, but yes, very excited. Glad to see some things being changed inside these dev diaries, like the civs actually having facial features and mouths moving and etc. And I think it was kind of a joke that this one's like about sounds and narrative, and their sound is kind of shitty in this video. I think that was meant to be a joke, but I don't know. Other than that, I do appreciate it. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video, and we'll definitely be ready to check out Payday 3 when it comes out.